All right, everybody, we're still back here working on these completing the square problems. If you got the last one, this one looks an awful lot the same, except I think it's going to, because of that negative 16 on the right side, it's going to end up with an imaginary number in it. So the left side, completing the square, remember what we did on the last problem? It's half of this 10 because we're going to split it up into a perfect square where both sides have to be the same thing. So in this case, the 10 that split in half would be a 5. It has to be the same on both sides. So you got your x squared there from this x times this x. Your 25 here and a 5x here and a 5x here to evenly split it all up. So we take that 10 and we cut it into 2 or divide by 2. This is assuming there's a leading coefficient on the x squared of 1. We'll see what to do when we have something different than that later. And that x plus 5 times x plus 5 does equal this exact thing. You can multiply it out if you need to. And then we go to the next step, which is square root both sides to undo the square. Don't forget you need a plus or minus here. If x squared is 25, x can be 5 because 5 times 5 is 25, but negative 5 times negative 5 is also 25. So you've also got both of those. So when you square root both sides of an equation, can't say that enough, hammer that home. You got to do a plus or a minus in front of there. So, all right, so now we've got the left side, the square root undid the square up on top. So you just have your x plus 5. And on the right, remember square root of negative 16 is 16 times negative 1. You don't need to write this step out, but I'm just trying to remind you how this worked because that was in the last topic. Square root of 16, 4. And remember, we use this I to be the square root of negative 1. So we have a positive or negative 4i here. And then the last thing we need on this problem is we're going to have to subtract that 5 over to the other side, and then that's a negative 5. We put it right here in front of the 4i, so now we can see our real part, our imaginary part. But that gives us 2 answers, a negative 5 plus 4i and a negative 5 minus 4i for our final, for our final answer to that problem. So let's put that in and see how that turns out. Negative 5 plus 4i, comma, negative 5 minus 4i. And I think that should do it. Check that out. Good job. Excellent. If you need more help, remember the view and example on the bottom. You can always YouTube solving quadratics with imaginary solutions or complex solutions. The I part is imaginary. And then when you add on an imaginary and a complex part like we had in this problem when we had that, because we had both a real part here and imaginary part here together, that makes it a complex number is what that's called. So anyway, keep after it. You can do it. Determination, dedication, and discipline. You'll get there. If you really absolutely get stuck and you need to come to class, similar questions if you need to practice till you make sure you really have the process down. But you can do this. Keep after it.